Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another weekend of racing with us at Delta Racing League. And I hate to say it, but the time has finally come. This is going to be the final race of Season 12, the season finale, where it all comes down to who finishes in first place. And I'm starting a little bit early just because I want to draw into everybody's attention here just how close the race for first place is going to be. It is going to be between Ryan Yee and Hamza Gulzar, currently in P1 and 2 respectively. But something very interesting could happen today. We take our race to Silverstone in Great Britain, one of the most historic tracks in all of motorsport. And it's going to come down to the line for these two. Ryan Yee right now in first place with 660 points. Hamza Gulzar in P2 with 626. But what is interesting about those numbers is even though they are just shy of 40 points apart, if Ryan Yee does not finish on the podium and Hamza Gulzar finishes in first place, Hamza Gulzar will finish in first place and take the season or series championship overall. Now, what's very interesting about this is that Hamza Gulzar missed the first two races, started on race 3, which was at Barcelona when we did the super sprint, and has taken first place in every race that he's participated in except for one. So those are some pretty good odds, but there is going to be a lot of variability out there. Having looked at the weather forecast, we're looking at a little bit of a mix between a potential for sun and dry, but even in either scenario, it is very cold out there. During free practice, we saw temperatures as low as 10 Celsius. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see how things end up looking once we actually get to qualifying and the race. Now, right now, we're just waiting for the timer to lapse on free practice. Then we'll go ahead and get trackside as we start the final quali of this season. Let's also take a look at the battle in the AM class. Right now, Javier Salazar is we've got another very, very close race for first place in the AM split. Kenneth Smith has been showing up all season, but Javier Salazar right behind him with equally good finishes, especially after Bathurst. A rough finish for Kenneth Smith in P26 and Javier Salazar in P8 puts them within 2 points of one another for first place in the AM split. Javier Salazar with 182 points and Kenneth Smith with 180. And even more interesting, in third place, Luis Velez at 176. So we're talking about a 6-point spread in the top 3 for the AM class. And really, that first place title is up to any one of them. A good finish from all of them could potentially mean they take the championship in the AM split. So, guys, we've got a lot on the line for this race, and I am extremely excited to get into it. And as I'm saying that, the time has lapsed, the session has changed, and we are getting on to qualifying now. So give me just a moment here. I'll take us trackside, and we will start to get a look at the action over here. First out onto the track, going to be Paul LeBlanc in the Spotify Porsche. The one that I keep seeing on the track and keep forgetting who's actually driving it, but not today. Today I've got it on lockdown. We're going to be on top of it today. But it actually does look like just another car out in front of him. It's going to be Luis Velez, speak of the devil, currently sitting in P3 in the AM split. Going to be looking to make that P1 with a strong finish today. And let's take a look at the weather here. Give me just a second to get the other computer to cooperate. It is greasy out there. It looks dry, if you were to ask me, but the game apparently thinks otherwise. There we go. It just flipped over to green. And we are looking at slightly warmer temperatures right now. It is 13 degrees ambient, 15 on the track. So a little bit chilly, but going to be good for the cars. A little bit denser air. Believe it or not, the game actually does model that, so going to be good for their times, but still got a little bit of time here until we see the hot laps as Luis Velez comes around the final corner to begin that first lap. and we'll start to get an idea of what the AM pace is looking like. And ordinarily, I like to come into this a little bit more prepared. I tend to stick around and watch most of free practice, but we had wet weather conditions in free practice, so the qualifying pace in the dry is going to be a completely different picture. Let's see who else we've out on the track. Oh, we catch Ethan Reed there, losing the back end of the Porsche coming around the final bend. He's going to go into the pits. A little bit of commentator's curse there, I'm sorry. Javier Salazar rounding the final corner, another one of our top 3 in the AM split. Luis Velez still out there and pushing. I'm gonna pull up something over here. Keeping things nice and tidy so far. Tricky spotted track, this one. Requires a lot of making sure your lines are set up for good exits. Looks like he's done a good job of that. He will be our first AM time, I believe, of this qualifying session, so hopefully we have an idea of what the AM pace is going to look like. Coming around the final bend, and just now, one more little kink to go. Nice cut of the track there. And across the line, we have our first qualifying time. It's going to be a 2:02 by Luis Velez. Have a couple more coming across the line. Steve Poe crosses the line, sets the next fastest by 3/10. Paul LeBlanc with a 2:06.545. Got a couple of more coming down the pike here. Nicholas Armijo going to take third place with a 2:03.255. It looks like Javier Salazar, another name we're going to be keeping an eye on today, coming around now down the front straight. And that'll be our fastest lap with a 2-minute flat. Nico Roscosh just behind him with a 2:01 and a 000. Justin Jantz now taking P6 with a 2:05.1. Let's see who we've got over here. Ethan Reed working his way around. Where is he at on the track? Bear with me here. Just now coming into left field. That's what that corner's called. And it looks like that was his out. That's right. He went back into the pits. That makes sense. I know what's going on. Take a look over at Kenneth Smith here out on his outlap, it seems. Either that or the last one was his outlap. So this will be his first flyer, excuse me. Using all the track there. Of course, this is a racetrack with 2 start-finish lines. That's the old one. Always gets me mixed up just a little bit when I'm looking at it. You'd think with how much GT car racing I watch, that would not catch me off guard as much as it does, but it sure likes to. But a good exit there down the straight, chasing down Nico Roscosh. Paul LeBlanc getting his lap time down, moves up into 6th place with a 2:03.3. Ooh, and Javier Salazar going to snag fastest lap with the first sub 2-minute time. He's going to set a 1:59.125. Question is, what is this lap time going to look like for Kenneth Smith? It's going to be a 2:01.03, which is good enough to get him up into 4th place. We've also got Luis Velez out here looking to improve on that last lap. Right now, 1.9, now 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds up on his previous best. And we are looking at another sub 2-minute time once he crosses the real start finish line. That's the fake one, the one that tricks me up every time. I was all excited. I was going to see the lap time. When will I learn? Looks like a good run there through Village. He's going to be hanging on to that lap time. Let's see, 3 seconds up still. But it doesn't, it still says it's not fastest for the purple border though, so that is very interesting. It'll be, it's going to be very close. 3 seconds up on his previous, no, 3.1, it's changing all over the place, my goodness. He is definitely looking at a 159. The question is, how low of a 159? He's got a 159.125 to beat. And it is going to be very close. Oh, and just barely off the mark. Luis Velez going to come in second place with a 159.23. And just to give you guys an idea of exactly how close that is, let's take a look at those personal bests. There we are. Very, very close between these two. We have a third 159 there from Steve Poe. Javier Salazar into the pits. Let's take a look over at Kenneth Smith, currently a second up on his personal best. Now, around the final bend, down the front straight, we'll get a time in for Kenneth Smith, 159.740. And we are very, very close in the top three, folks. Again, those names that we're keeping an eye out for are the three we've been seeing a lot of so far. It's going to be Javier Salazar, Kenneth Smith, and Luis Velez. Is why we are watching those times. Right now, Javier Salazar currently in first place and first place in the AM standings. And then Kenneth Smith is in second in the standings. Luis Velez in third. So right now, things looking very good for Javier Salazar as well as Luis Velez, although Kenneth Smith out there on another lap will be his last one before time lapses and the pros are allowed out of the pits. You can hear them queuing up in pit lane now. Oh, and he snags the purple border. Let's take a look over at Kenneth Smith. It is going to be very close as to whether or not he gets this one. There it is again, a great exit there. Could mean that he is able to finish in first place as the pros are let out of the pits. Oh, he's out there driving like he knows what's on the line. Now 0.8 up. Now through Village and the loop. Now just a good exit onto the Wellington straight, and he is looking at a first place qualifier here. But it's going to be close. He's losing just a little bit of time. Oh, it's all going to come down to these last two corners here. If he can find time, that is huge. Oh, come on, get the power down. Let's see the upset after the timer's lapsed, and he's losing time. And it will definitely be enough for him to gain positions, but will not be starting on the pole for AM, but does finish in third place with a 159.257, just 27 thousandths of a second behind Luis Velez. Let's take a look over at the pro pack of cars here. We've got three very close to one another. It's going to be James Morris, Matt Byrne, and I believe that is Jean Casagina. Also got a couple of other cars here on the Wellington Straight trying to heat up the tires, give each other some space before they get this race going. Ooh, Ferrari overcooks it a little bit. All right, but here we go. It looks like James Morris going to be the first one out, and I believe he just invalidated that lap going out a little bit wide. Not sure what happened there. But Casagina right behind him to keep up the pressure, not give him any room to breathe. And now he is chasing him down the straight. But who we are going to be keeping an eye on this qualifying session is going to be Ryan Yee and Hamza Gulzar. As we were talking about at the beginning of the stream, these two are going to be racing for first place in the standings. Hamza Gulzar needs to finish in first place, and Ryan Yee cannot be anywhere on the podium. Otherwise, Ryan Yee will win first place. Take a look up here at Casagina. I believe he is going to be our first pro time of this qualifying session. Looks like he got around James Morris. And there we have it, the first 158 of this qualifying session. Jean Casagina is going to cross the line. Matt Byrne is going to cross the line with a 159.0 in second place. We're going to have several more cars coming across the line here in just a moment. Let's take a look over at Ryan Yee as he crosses the line and qualifies in third place. Skylar Leverink in P2. And where is Hamza Gulzar? Hamza Gulzar now just coming through the loop, it looks like. Yep, now on the Wellington Straight. And I'm going to throw these... oh, come on, cooperate with me. There we go. I'm going to throw up those personal bests here just so we can keep an eye just how close this qualifying session has been so far. We have a couple of the pros setting those times there. A lot of 159s, a lot of low 2 minutes. This is the time I want to see here. Hamza Gulzar going to cross the line and snags third place with a 158.832. Casagina out there, though, continuing to make up time. Half second up on his previous best. We may have a 157 in the works here. All right, we're about to have the new fastest lap of qualifying, and there it is, a 157.697 by Casagina. Gonna be the new time to beat. Let's take a look over at Sam Snelltrain's lap here. Up a second, now 8/10. We seem to catch people right as they're coming down onto the Wellington Straight. Looks like a good exit for him, not losing any time, not gaining any time. And just a few corners to go. Looks like he saved some time there on the brakes. Ooh. Can he get it back? Coming around Luffield. Ooh, it looks like bleeding away a little bit of time, but he will still post an improvement and put himself in the 159s. And there it is with a 159.5. Moves himself up into 11th place. Hamza Gulzar looking to improve as well. Currently sitting P5. Is going to have to do a little bit better than that if he wants to finish in first place in the points overall. But rounding the final bend here, will cross the line with a new personal best and snag second place, just a few hundredths of a second faster than Ryan Yee, and that is what he needs to see right now. Looking over at Skylar Loverink as well. Coming through, it looks like, yep, just exiting the Vale chicane. Had a rough finish at Bathurst, actually, as a matter of fact. Did he finish or not? Let me take a look here. He did. He finished P12, that's right. So looking for some redemption here. 0.6 up. Hamza Gulzar on an invalid lap. Matt Byrne up 7/10. We've also got Domenico Bellotti up a half second. The track might be getting faster out there because I see a lot of folks beginning to improve. But looking over at the car numbers here for a second will show us kind of the mix-up between the pros and the AMs, and we've got some fast amateur drivers out there. Javier Salazar, Luis Velez, and Kenneth Smith all in the top 10 at the moment. And I think, honestly, those three are going to be looking at maybe getting a pro license upgrade here, but Skylar Loverink does cross the line with a new personal best and sets a 158.0. Moving him up into second place. Let's take a look over at Mateus Alves here. As he's rounding the final bend now. And 4/10 up, might be a half second by the time he crosses the line. Sets a new personal best, moves himself up into the top 10 with a 159.235. Lyndon Dinkle there, exiting Chapel, now down the Hanger Straight. That's Domenico Bellotti right behind him. Both of them in the green at the moment, but only just. There we go. We see them both gain a bit of time there coming through the Vale chicane. Daniel Good also on an improvement here, just out in front of those two, a half second up on his previous best, looking to set one final flyer before this qualifying session is over. And it looks like he's going to make this one count. Now half second up. A good exit onto the straight. It's going to be very important here as time lapses. And now the drivers are on their final chance here to set a good lap. Right behind him, we can see Domenico Bellotti and Daniel Good still duking it out. Oh, and Domenico Bellotti is going to lose that lap time. Daniel Good still pushing. Let's see, and he's going to cross the line with a new personal best, moving up into 14th place with a 159.375. Got a couple of others looking to, do the same thing. Mateus Alves here, looking for any kind of improvement he can get. Doesn't need to be much for him to go up a position. And he will set a personal best, a 159.227, and that is good enough for 11th place. Hamza Gulzar still out on track. Looking to improve, and he does by 2 positions with a 157.937. It looks like Casagina going to be the last one to qualify here. Actually, we've got 2 more cars on track, excuse me. Oh, and he's going to go ahead and toss that lap. And that is qualifying. All right, well, let's take a real quick look at the grid while I can get it up there. Oh, and it is raining, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, boy. Okay, so as we flip sessions over, we are greeted by some cloudy skies. Ooh, and look at that weather forecast. It looks like they may not stick around. We've got rain at race start. In 10 minutes, we go to just a little bit less rain and then to overcast. Now, that is very interesting. Now this becomes a strategy discussion, but let's go ahead and just real quick go through the starting grid here. Now that we are finished with qualifying, let's do that and that. There we go. And it is a wet one out there, folks, but for the last time of the season, let's go ahead and do our grid walk and run through the starting grid. John Casagina going to be qualifying in first place. Hamza Gulzar in P2, starting over behind Casagina. Skylar Loverink in P3, Ryan Yee in P4, Matt Byrne in P5, and sixth place is Zach Doran. In seventh, James Morris, Sam Snelltrain in P8, Javier Salazar in P9, Jeff Spangler in P10, Mateus Alves in P11, Luis Velez in P12, Kenneth Smith in P13, Daniel Good in P14. In 15th place is Ross Sparrow, Domenico Bellotti just behind him in P16, Ben Burchett in P17, Steve Poe in P18, Nico Roskosh in P19, Ryan Walker in P20, Andrew Sear P21, Landon Dinkle in P22, Nicholas Armijo P23, in P24 is Justin Jantz, and in P25 is Ethan Reed. Right behind him, that is Paul LeBlanc. And, oh, these last six, I recognize Stubby McNubby and the Rainier car. Oh, boy, I'm sorry, folks. Hold on. I can do better than that on our final race of the season. Give me just a second here. In P26 is Paul LeBlanc. Right behind him, Jade Russell in P27. Troy Gooder in P28. Stubby McNubby in P29. Javier Miranda in P30. And Jose Este in P31. Let's finish our walk back up to the front of the grid as we've got 30 seconds left in the pre-race. Last opportunity for the drivers to make any setup changes or gamble on the weather however they see fit. But this is going to be an interesting final race, folks. And 20 seconds until we start that formation lap. And I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on the weather because this is going to be interesting, folks. No change in the forecast during those 2.5 minutes. Still looking at decreasing rain in the next 10 minutes. Makes me wonder if the drivers are going to take any gambles, start on dry tires, do something crazy. Who knows? Let me get this sorted out over here. We're going to go to manufacturer. We're going to go to race gaps. Let's add that mandatory pit stop. Let's set this to last lap. There we go. Casagina going ahead and knocking all the cones off the track just to save us from some distractions once we get this race underway. But we'll also go to the split screen here so that we can watch as much of the action as possible as the drivers are out there trying to get their tires warmed up, brakes with some temperature in them. And that is a great shot there. Down the straight, looking through Chapel, Maggots, and Beckett's. See Matt Byrne there doing some last-minute lawn mowing. Love to see it. Always a team player, Matt Byrne. Either that or just getting used to the conditions out there. Who knows? So things we're going to be wanting to keep an eye on, again, just because we were talking about the standings here. Hamza Gulzar, currently qualified P2, is going to have to beat Casagina in order for that P1 finish. Certainly no easy task. And right now, Ryan Yee sitting in P4, and that is off the podium. like we were talking earlier, if he's not able to catch up just a little bit and Hamza Gulzar takes first place, that is going to be an upset on the final race of the season. And also of note, Javier Salazar here starting in P9, a couple of positions ahead of Kenneth Smith. Might be all that he needs to hang on to P1, but Luis Velez very close behind him, just has a couple of cars in between him and Javier Salazar. Might be the upset that he needs as well. So we're going to have our eyes all over this track tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But looks like the drivers are lining up double file here for the last time of the season as they're coming down the Wellington Straight. And we are going to have a race on our hands here in just a moment as we wait for the drivers to line up on the starting grid and wait for that green light to kick this race off. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The time for talking has come to an end as we wait for the drivers to start the final race of the season, and we will get our answers to who is going to come out on top. And I want to say a final thank you to everybody who has tuned in, and we hope that you are as excited to see this race as I am, as we now just wait for the green lights to kick off the final race of the season. And there it is, the green light has illuminated for the last time, and Casagina makes his run into turn one. Looks like he gets out just in front of Hamza Gulzar. Looking back in the pack a little bit, looks like things are staying relatively tidy for now. And most of the track there through now into Maggots and Beckett's, watching on both monitors as best I can for any contact. So far, looks like things are keeping pretty tidy, albeit very close. Looks like a good run for Casagina, and Hamza Gulzar starting to pull a little bit of gap to third place. Matt Byrne right behind Ryan Yee for fourth and fifth place. But look at that, up in first place. We're going to have to switch the camera over there. Hamza Gulzar right on the rear bumper of Casagina, coming around the bend. And looking at the middle field, looks like everybody is more or less sorted things out. Maybe some slight contact. Doesn't look like any big yellow flags yet. Let's narrow this down to just one camera here and keep our eyes on the battle for first place. We've got a couple of other very, very close gaps here. Looks like Domenico Bellotti really starting to apply some pressure there to Kenneth Smith. And it looks like these two are going to kind of run away from Skylar Loverink and the rest. So let's take a look a couple cars back right now. Matt Byrne and Ryan Yee getting into it. I'm going to go back to the split screen here because we've got a very, very close battle here between Ethan Reed and I believe right next to him that is Landon Dinkle. Oh, and it's very close between the two of them, rounding that bend. They're still side by side. They touch. Ethan Reed on the outside has to run off wide, coming down the Wellington Straight. Can he rejoin safely? He does. Right alongside, that is Nicholas Armijo, who's going to take advantage of the mistake and make a run on the outside here. On the main screen, Sam Snelltrain on the defense from James Morris. Oh, and that's very close, boys. Coming around the final bend, they almost touch. And we can already see some of the cars struggling for grip here. And James Morris, a great move on the inside, gets Sam Snelltrain to turn one and moves up into 7th place. We've also got a couple of other crazy battles going on here. Jeff Spangler fighting for every inch, and a great move there through Maggots gets him 2 positions. Luis Velez drops down a few positions there. Mateus Alves on the outside trying to get back on the line here, and he's being kept honest there by Luis Velez on the inside. And down the straight, it is going to be a drag race, and it looks like Luis Velez is going to win it. Oh, and what do we we see there's Zach Dorn to the outside. And he is parked on the outside. Not sure what happened there, but falling down the leaderboard. Not a great start to his race, but we already have an upset here. Hamza Gulzar has moved into first place. Oh, and we've got a big yellow flag there. Ethan Reed getting punted around. Not sure what happened there, but I did see the last bit of contact. And he's going to get that back out on the track. Yellow flag for Daniel Good there. Not sure where that came from, but he is still moving. God, we've got close battles everywhere. We still have those red gaps, which means they're inside a half second. And I'm trying to keep eyes on them all. Zach Dorn here starting to work his way back up the grid. Oh, we've got another yellow flag, Jade Russell, who is on the outside waiting for a chance to get back on, and they'll find it. Ross Sparrow and Kenneth Smith very close, as are Dominica Bellotti and Ryan Walker. And Hamza Gulzar has pulled a 1 second gap to Casagina so far. Ooh, Nicholas Armijo and Landon Dinkle getting very close. And Andrew Sear right behind them. Oh, and Nicholas Armijo loses the back end at the exit. And that is going to leave him stranded there waiting for his opportunity to get back onto track. The wet weather conditions already giving the drivers a handful to deal with this early into the race. And right there we see Kenneth Smith and Ross Sparrow getting very close, and they touch. Kenneth Smith into the side or the back of that Audi. And both of them are going to be waiting there. Oh, that is not how they wanted this race to start there. But Kenneth Smith going for the trying to be the good sports or a good sport there and wait for Ross Sparrow to recover from that accident. Gotta like the sportsmanship. But an unfortunate incident this early into the race. Just 6 minutes have elapsed so far. Matt Byrne currently with the fastest lap of the race, under a bit of fire from Ryan Yee, who's certainly going to be aware of the situation that is brewing in front of him. Hamza Gulzar in first place. Ryan Yee needs to make up 2 positions in order to hang on to his first place finishing hopes. We've got a battle coming into the final turn of the lap here. Domenico Bellotti gets out in front of Ryan Walker, but runs it out wide and loses a bit of speed, and that is going to allow Ryan Walker back through. Let's also take a look up at Casagina. He is slowly starting to reel Hamza Gulzar back in. And looking at their last laps there, my goodness, that is close. Hamza Gulzar is only 3/1000ths of a second faster on the previous lap. Oh, and it's only getting closer here. Casagina looking for any way to make it through here through the Vale chicane. Let's go ahead and actually we're going to take this opportunity to ride on board as we watch these two duke it out for first place. Move close there on the brakes. Now through Village. And it looks like advantage Honda here, but this is the sad part for the Porsche. It is going to lose on the straight line speed unless he is close enough for the draft. Looks like he actually doesn't lose all that much time down the Wellington straight. Now he just has 2 more corners to negotiate here. Let's see if he can get closer. Well, Hamza Gulzar doing a great job of fending him off. I'm very curious to see these last lap speeds. And Casagina actually wins that one by 1/10.5 with the new fastest lap of the race. Got another close battle for position here, beginning to brew. Nico Roscosh and Landon Dinkel. Almost just said Dandon Linkle. I got enough sleep last night. What about you guys? A couple of other close battles brewing there. It looks like Nichols Armillo makes a position up on Ethan Reed. Zach Doran and Steve Poe starting to get into it, but we have a drag race in the Maggotts and Beckett's between the BMW and the Merc. Let's see who it looks like Landon Dinkel having to file in behind him. And it looks like that checkup on the brakes may have cost him some speed down the straight, allowing Ben Burchett to catch up. Just a couple of cars ahead, Mateus Alves on the defense coming into the Vale chicane. Daniel Good right behind him. We also see Ryan Yee and Matt Byrne have gotten close to one another again, as have Casagina and Hamza Gulzar. Daniel Good really pushing Mateus Alves here. Ben Burchett starting to get ever closer to Landon Dinkel. Let's take a look over there real quick. Looks like that gap beginning to open a bit back up here, but Ben Burchett still locked in on the back of that BMW in front of him. A new fastest lap for Hamza Gulzar there, and immediately taken away from Casagina by just a couple hundredths of a second. These two are duking it out. Let's take a look over here at Steve Poe on the defense from Zach Doran. As we saw Zach Doran, rough start to the race, not sure why, but he pulled off to the side and had to let a few cars through, now looking to make his way back up the grid. After starting P6, he is going to be looking to make up as many of those positions as he can. Ooh, and Steve Poe is off wide in turn 1. And that does open the door to Zach Doran to get a run on the outside, and there is the move made. Take a look over at Ben Burchett getting very close to Landon Dinkel there. We've got a couple of other close battles, Kenneth Smith and Stubby McNubby, and Justin Jantz and Paul LeBlanc. We'll move to the inside for Ben Burchett. And it looks like that move is going to pay off for him. Let's see if the BMW can get back on the power in time. Oh, it's going to be very close as they race down through the straight into the Vale chicane. Ben Burchett, good positioning there. Gets himself out in front of Landon Dinkel, and I think that's the move done. Paul LeBlanc and Justin Jantz getting into it. We saw their positions change a couple of times there in a short span of just a corner. A little bit of trading back and forth for these two. Ooh, and number 234 had a drive-through and serves it. That's going to be Jade Russell. Hamza Gulzar with another fastest lap of the session that is immediately snagged by Casagina. Let's take a look at this battle here for first place. man, that Honda is just quick through those bends. Usually the Porsche is able to keep up with just about anything. But Hamza Golzar doing a great job. Oh, and just there as we see off, as it goes off camera, Matt Byrne and Ryan Yee drag racing up the straight. Matt Byrne on the inside, though. Next chance to pass will be Vale if they don't get a good exit here. Ooh, a little bit slidey out there. As we can see, the rain has stopped and the track is beginning to dry up a little bit here. And taking a look at the weather, it is going to stay that way. We've gone from full wet to damp, and we see no rain predicted in the next 30 minutes. I love watching these two, but we're going to do a little bit of a switch here because Casagina and Golzar are still at it, and right now the closest battle for position on the field. Ooh, and as I say that, Ross Sparrow and Ben Burchett trading positions there. Oh, and I got to get a look at this. Oh, Andrew Sear has entered this battle to make it a four-car battle. Ben Burchett on the outside. Now has the inside line to get the Audi, gets a bump from the BMW. Almost a second one. And Landon Dinkel just left with nowhere to go, stuck behind a McLaren and an Audi, and Ben Burchett takes the better of the exchange and gets out in front of it. Ooh, Landon Dinkel doing a good job of locking in behind, and it looks like Ben Burchett is going to hang on to that position for now. Let's take a look back at the battle between our race leaders. Oh, and as I say that, it looks like Matt Byrne loses a position to Ryan Yee. Ryan Yee only has one more car to make up, and he is able to hang on to his first place finish overall. But he has a 2.3 second gap to Skylar Levering. Kenneth Smith was in striking position before I changed the camera there. Oh, and a big slide from the McLaren. Through Maggots and Beckett's. Now he's got a little bit of ground to make up to Stubby McNubby in front of him for 22nd place. Steve Poe starting to apply some pressure here to Nico Roscosh. Just behind him, Ross Sparrow, Ben Burchett, and Landon Dinkel. And we've got, just look at the, see those numbers over there? Most of them aren't white. That means we've got close battles all over the field, folks. I'm trying my best to keep as much of it on camera as we can here, but there is, at this point, too much to watch, and we are 7 laps into this race. Let's take a look back at our race leaders here. And once again, both of them set fastest lap of the race, one after the other. Ooh, Ben Burchett going for another overtake on Steve Poe, and it looks like he's gonna get it, but Steve Poe on a good line for the defense there, and he overcooks it and goes into the side of the Lexus, which opens the door to Ross Sparrow on the inside. Ben Burchett not out of it yet. Oh no! And there's huge collision there between him, Steve Poe, and Ross Sparrow. We'll let them get that sorted out here. It looks like it may not be over yet. Now Andrew Sear on the back of Ben Burchett. a look at the battle between Javier Salazar and Matt Byrne. And I'm going to throw the race leaders over on the side screen here just so we can keep an eye on that as best we can. We've got Daniel Good looking to make an overtake on Mateus Alves here. Oh, we've got a yellow flag, actually. And it looks like we've got a Ferrari spun around and trying to get sorted out now. Take a look over at Andrew Sear and Ben Burchett here. Now the closest gap on, actually, as I say that, two other cars get closer. Javier Salazar and Matt Byrne are getting very close to each other, as are Ryan Walker and Daniel Good. Javier Miranda, yellow flag through Maggots and Beckett's here. We now have a three-car battle for 11th place. Going to be Mateus Alves, Daniel Good, and Ryan Walker. And look at that draft, ladies and gentlemen. He goes for the slingshot on the outside. Can he make it happen? It doesn't look like it. Looks like a spot of the brakes there to avoid maybe a collision, but he gets a great exit out of that corner now into the Vale chicane. Oh, and there's just no room for him to try anything. He's got two cars in front of him, and they are side by side coming around that corner. It looks like Daniel Good may get a pass here on the outside. That's a little bit wide. Ooh, it looks like the sun's starting to come out a little bit. Mateus Alves right there, keeping Daniel Good honest. And the track is definitely getting faster as we are seeing lap after lap. Our race leaders going just a bit quicker than they did on their previous one. It looks like we have another three-car battle going back and forth between Stubby McNubby, Steve Poe, and Kenneth Smith. We'll keep our eyes out for that to get closer. But right now, Mateus Alves and Daniel Good will be battling here for P11, and it is very close between the two of them. Blue flag getting waved there. Oh my goodness, and just out of frame there, we see those two cars get very close. Looks like Daniel Good gets the move done early, and it saves him some trouble, but now Mateus Alves under fire from Ryan Walker. We've got something else developing here. Matt Byrne getting very, very close to Ryan Yee for fourth place. As they draft each other down the down the Wellington straight here. It looks like an early break there from Matt Byrne to prevent a collision. But look back here, we've got an interesting battle beginning to develop again. Oh, and we've got a yellow flag for Kenneth Smith as I get over there. Let's try a 10-second replay and see if we can see what happened. Oh, no. Oh, that's just a lot of cars very close to each other on the Vale chicane, and Kenneth Smith gets the worst of it there. Oh, and another yellow flag for Steve Poe. Looks like, oh, and that is going to be a disconnect for him. Landon Dinkle and Ben Burchett there, getting very close, changing positions through the chicane before the Wellington Straight. And it looks like Ben Burchett gets out in front. Ryan Walker chasing down Mateus Alves coming into Maggots and Beckett's. Oh my goodness, and I just off screen, we just barely missed the race leaders, almost touching, coming around Luffield. Ooh, Casagina off wide, maybe just trying to get as much speed as he can down this straight to try and catch up to Hamza Gulzar. And excuse me, I was wrong. That was the Vale chicane, not Luffield. I told you that that starting grid, the fake one, it was going to get me. I wasn't wrong. Ryan Walker, Mateus Alves trading positions now side by side coming through the Vale chicane. And they are still side by side, wheel to wheel around the exit. And Ryan Walker going to come out on top. Ooh, Ryan Walker out wide there. Outbreaks himself a little bit through Village. But it looks like he is going to hang on to that position. Let's take a look back over at our race leaders, Hamza Gulzar and Casagina. Still pretty much locked to one another. And Hamza Gulzar not able to pull a gap, which is somewhat of a surprise. Well, it's not a surprise with Casagina right behind him, but based on how those last several races for Gulzar has gone, where he has pretty much run unchallenged in first place, right now has a bit of competition, and the 311 car gonna pick up a drive-through penalty for track warnings. It's gonna be Landon Dinkle in the BMW. And we've got, looks like the first of our pit stops here. Mateus Alves and Zach Dorn both into the pits. Probably folks looking to get on those dry tires early, because it does not look like we're gonna get any more rain throughout the rest of the race, as we see the sun is coming out and is going to be drying up that track. And let's take a look over at those track conditions here. There we go. Landon Dinkle clears his drive-through. And yeah, that is still confirmed. It is a damp track out there, 11 degrees, which might be playing into the fact it is taking so long to dry up, but still no rain, no clouds, just overcast in the forecast for the next 30 minutes. Ooh, and the number 10 car gets a stop and go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. Number 10 car, that is going to be Zach Doran. Oh, and number 15 gets a drive-through. For track limits, that's going to be Mateus Alves, who just served a pit stop. Hamza Gulzar starting to pull a bit of a gap to second place. Casagina, it might be that his tires are just a bit happier about the drying conditions. Oh, and we actually see him there get a little bit of a slide going on through Beckett's. Let's take a look over at Ross Sparrow and Stubby McNubby getting pretty close to one another. Audi fighting for all the grip that it can. We can see Stubby McNubby there on the outside. Ooh, and Dominica Bellotti next into the pits. And that is Javier Miranda, it looks like, there on the outside. Opts to just leave it off the track and let the other cars through. And will find his way back onto the straight now. Good run through turn one for Ross Sparrow. Stubby McNubby on the outside now, coming into Maggots. And that is going to be the move done. Ethan Reed looking to get a jump on Landon Dinkle here. Good rotation through turn 2 and 3. Skylar Loverink into the pits now. And now that we've got some of the field going through the pits, things are going to start getting a little bit more mixed up. And that is the halfway mark called. 30 minutes into this race. Oh, and a big mistake from Javier Salazar off the track. Manages to do so without causing any trouble. Kenneth Smith looking to recover some more positions here. Is caught up to Ethan Reed. And a 4-car battle behind Justin Jantz for 19th place. Skylar Loverink coming out of the pits now. And it looks like he's going to come out onto a clear track. Let's take a look over at Ryan Yee here, currently sitting in P3. Let's see what the predictions say here. It says he'll hang on to it after the pit stops. So assuming he's able to keep his nose out of trouble here, this is actually looking very good for him. Ooh, and a drive-through for track limits to the 110 car. That is going to be Daniel Good in P10 right now. And Casagina into the pits. Probably opting to get on those dry tires, and looking at the track, that is not a bad decision. The question is, will Hamza Gulzar be able to continue to set good laps on those wet tires? Last lap out of him was a 2:05.1, which is still faster than everything else on the field during that last lap. Ooh, yellow flag for Ethan Reed is off track as I was getting over to watch the battle between him and Landon Dinkle. Ben Burchett starting to catch up to Nico Roscosh in the Mercedes. And he is slowly reeling him in. Now just a 1-second gap between the two of them. Ross Sparrow into the pits. Nico Roscosh slowly losing ground to Ben Burchett behind him. But 2 more cars into the pits, Justin Jansen, Ethan Reed, and Hamza Gulzar is into the pits now. And that Lexus actually looks a bit beat up now that I'm looking at it. It's missing some paint on the passenger side there. All right, let me find... Ooh, another stop-go 30 for speeding in the pit lanes is handed out to the number 5 car. That is going to be Ross Sparrow. Now this is going to be very interesting here. Ben Burchett is really applying some pressure there. He caught up on the straight, and I'm going to go to the split screen here because we've got Casagina rounding the final bend, and Hamza Gulzar now just let out onto the track. Let's see where he comes out in regards to Casagina. And it does look like, yeah, Gulzar does get a good pit stop there and is let out in front. We see Casagina there in the background. So it looks like that last lap of wet weather or wet tires there for Hamza Gulzar, staying out 1 extra lap, paying off. But let's keep our eyes on the ball here. Nico Roscosh and Ben Burchett really going at it. As we saw there on the brakes, there was just 0.2 of a second between the two of them, maybe inches of space. And Andrew Sear actually starting to catch up to them. Ooh, Ben Burchett a little late on the brakes there, goes out wide, but manages to keep it inside of track limits, but loses about a half second as a result. Paul LeBlanc into the pits now. Ben Burchett reeling him back in here. That Lexus working overtime trying to catch the Merc. Ooh, James Morris and Matt Byrne into the pits now. God, that Lexus is quick in a straight line here as we see him go for a dive on the inside. And I think that's the move made. Let's see if he can hang on to it. It looks like he will. Ben Burchett moves himself up into 11th place. And I am keeping an eye on that gap there on the left-hand side of the screen. Casagina has gotten within a half second of Hamza Gulzar. Ooh, James Morris picks up a stop-go 30 for speeding in pit lane, as Casagina has caught up to the race leader. Maybe having that extra outlap on the dry tires, getting them up temperature a little sooner than Gulzar, may be paying off here. Oh, and he goes for a move on the inside, and they touch. There's contact between first and second place there. Casagina moves out in front. Now the question is, will he be able to stay there? In just the course of a few turns here, Casagina already almost a second and a half up on Hamza Gulzar. the real question here is, where is Ryan Yee going to shake out in all of this? And right now, I am seeing that after he has taken a pit stop, he will come out in 3rd place. Take a look over at Skylar Lovering here, getting ready to make a move for position. Or did my splits lie? Yeah, the splits may have lied to me a little bit. Meant to take a look over here at Andrew Sear. Oh, and both him and Ben Burchett into the pits. Matt Byrne looking to make a move here on Javier Salazar. Matt Byrne looks to the inside, goes for the late brakes. Oh, and there's barely room enough for the two of them to get around that corner. They find a way to do it. Matt Byrne alongside Javier Salazar, racing down into the Vale chicane. Good positioning there for Salazar, is going to leave him out in front of the other McLaren. What can Matt Byrne do to answer? How is there not contact there? There's maybe millimeters between those two cars, but somehow they come out around the Vale chicane and down onto the fake start-finish line without crashing into one another. And Skylar Lovering starting to catch up to them. Jeff Spangler and Ryan Yee now into the pits. Oh, and there's the contact. Fortunately, it doesn't look like much of a consequence there, just a little love tap. Matt Byrne looking for any way through here, but Javier Salazar putting up a fight. And Ryan Yee let out of the pits. Let's see where he comes out. And it looks like he is in P3, if you take into account the pit stops that have yet to be served. And with a 10-second gap to Javier Salazar, it looks. Ben Burchett in now. With 18 minutes left on the clock, I believe only 2 cars have their pit stops remaining. The 234 has a drive-through. But Matt Byrne and Skylar Lovering here bringing this battle for 4th place to the very end stages of this race here. But Skylar Lovering having caught up, now Matt Byrne has to play offense and defense. Oh, and a move on the inside by Skylar Lovering into the side of Matt Byrne. Spins around the McLaren and leaves him stranded on the inside of the chicane. Oh, and that's a dicey rejoin there. Paul LeBlanc sees it coming, and these two going to continue the race in the same order they started it in. Just behind him, Ross Sparrow and Paul LeBlanc battling for position. Move on the inside by Ross Sparrow, over rotates, catches it without spinning, but is going to lose that position, excuse me, to Paul LeBlanc. Just in front of him, Zach Doran and Justin Jantz. And just in front of them, James Morris and Ben Burchett. Let's take a look at this. Ooh, and it is a drag race down the straight. That Lexus is quick, but so is the BMW. And here we go. It looks like the Lexus is out in front coming around the bend, but the inside line goes to the BMW as the Lexus loses the back end, and that allows James Morris through. We've got a couple of other close battles here. Sam Snelltrain and Javier Salazar, excuse me, for P4. It looks like a little bit of the back end gets away there from Sam, but he is hanging on to it. We also have a 4-car battle for 6th place here behind Luis Velez. We got a yellow flag for Casagina. Oh, and it looks like there may have been a collision there with a back marker. Let's chance the replay. Oh. Looks like he tries to make a move on the inside there, and there wasn't room for it, and that opens the door to Hamza Gulzar to reel him back in a little bit. Let's take a look over at this. Wow, that's crowded. Skylar Lovering going for the same move on the inside on Matt Byrne again in the Vale chicane, and Matt Byrne manages to get through without getting spun around this time. I think these drivers know it's their last chance they'll get during the season to duke it out for position with some of these drivers, and they're not leaving anything else in reserve. They're pushing as hard as they can. Matt Byrne tries to go on the inside there of Jeff Spangler and thinks better of it. It's still very close between these four. Matt Byrne and Jeff Spangler, two long-term house names here at Delta Racing League. Good to see them battling for position now. And right now, Ryan Yee in a great place in P3, but all he has to do is stay there as long as Hamza Gulzar is, as long as he is on the podium. Hamza Gulzar will not win in the points overall. So all he's got to do is just hang out right where he's at. Ooh, Jeff Spangler getting a little bit loose there, opens the door to Matt Byrne to catch up. Ooh, and almost another collision there. Matt Byrne saves it by getting on the brakes. Skylar Lovering sees it coming. Hamza Gulzar starting to nip at the heels of Casagina. We see that gap kind of bobbing between 1 second and a half second. Let's take a look over at this. He is caught up to Casagina. Oh, and that's a bad idea, folks. They try and go too wide. They make a little bit of contact in the braking zone, but it looks like Casagina stays out in front. We are starting to see a very clear dry line emerging here. And I'll bring us back to this in just a moment. Let's take a look over here at this battle for 6th place. Matt Byrne looking for a way through. Skylar Loverink on the backside. He loses it. Manages to keep it from spinning around on him. Doesn't look like he lost all that much time either. And take a look at that battle over there for 1st place. Hamza Gulzar doing everything he can to keep Casagina in his sights. Little bit of slide there out of the Honda as they come down into Vale chicane. Almost contact there again. These two racing incredibly close to one another. But that gap is opening back up. Let's check back in over here with these 4 cars. Matt Byrne almost touching the rear bumper of Jeff Spangler. Oh, and a little bit of contact there. Matt Byrne staying there to stick it out on the outside. Gets a little bit of a wiggle. And Matt Byrne gets out in front. Whoop. We got a yellow flag for James Morris. Looks like he just had to take the inside line over at Beckett's. And gets passed by Ben Burchett as a result. And Hamza Gulzar has caught back up to Casagina. It is amazing the yo-yoing going on between these two. We'll see Gulzar behind by almost a second, and in the course of just a couple corners brings it back in. And just in front of them, we see a battle between Nicolas Armijo and Mateus Alves getting very close. This battle is going to get interesting because we've got 2 battles for position about to collide with one another. It'll be for 1st and 2nd place and 19th and 18th place. A good move there by Nicolas Armijo. It lets them through. You see both of those cars doing everything they can to try and open up that corner. Get as much speed down this straight as they can. And that looks like it pays off for Gulzar. Hugs in right behind the Porsche, darts to the outside, try and make the move happen. That inside line is just so tough to beat though. And Casagina hangs on to the position. Now through Maggots and Beckett's. Let's see what happens here. Gulzar staying locked to the back of that Porsche. But Casagina is just so quick. Gulzar goes for the move on the outside. Ferrari lifts. Oh, and they touch on the straight. Give each other some room, gentlemen. Hamza Gulzar on the outside, Casagina on the inside. Oh, and they've got a car spun around. Neither one of them giving each other any room to move. They narrowly avoid a Ferrari there. Outbraking himself just a bit. I'm almost at a loss for words here watching these two, just how hard they are fighting here. We're still talking about doing, let's see, their last laps 206.2, 206.5 from Casagina and Gulzar respectively there. And a move on the outside there by Hamza Gulzar. Late brakes for the Porsche. Ooh, and the Porsche loses control just a little bit, but he is in good position to hang on to this and fight it out. Smart positioning there by Casagina leaves Gulzar looking to strike back again. Is going to have to try and get another chance to pass that Porsche. He was not making it easy there. Oh, and they touch, and Casagina into the wall. Ooh, he is not going to be happy about that one, folks. Let's take a look at another battle for position over here. Mateus Alves and Nicolas Armijo getting very close. And Luis Velez into the pits. What is he? Is he serving a drive-through? Let me take a look here. Mateus Alves and Nicolas Armijo drag racing down the straight here. The Ferrari on the inside has a good line to defend. Let's see if the Merc can get some power down, though, and maybe set up a pass at Vale. And it does look like Luis Velez is serving a drive-through there. Those track limits will get you. Great defense here by Mateus Alves. Oh, and the AMG loses it, almost goes into the wall, catches it at the last moment there. Nicolas Armijo will be dialing up that traction control just a little bit, I'm sure, after that. Oh, and Casagina's into the pits. Did I miss something? Why is Casagina in the pits? Hold on a second, folks. He doesn't have any outstanding penalties. I'm not sure what he's doing there. This battle between Mateus Alves and Nicolas Armijo rages on, though, as they chase each other down the straight. And Casagina let back out of the pits in 11th place. Not sure what he was thinking of doing there. Maybe trying to snag fastest lap for an extra point, as there are only 2.5 minutes left in this race. But that does leave Hamza Gulzar pretty much unchallenged in first place. Ryan Yee in second, is exactly where he wants to be. Sam Snelltrain in P3 having a great race as well. Javier Salazar in P4, Matt Byrne in P5. Jeff Spangler and Skylar Loverink starting to catch up to Matt Byrne here to start a 3-car battle for 5th place. It looks like Mateus Alves might be starting to pull a little bit of a gap to Nicolas Armijo here. I believe that's Ryan Yee in between the two of them. It is. Ooh, Sam Snelltrain going to grab fastest lap of the session with a 2:04.1. And Matt Byrne takes it right after him with a 2:04.0. Right now we are watching a battle between Zach Doran and Stubby McNubby for P20. We've also got Ben Burchett and Nico Roscosh getting very close to each other for P14. I'm going to throw that up on the other screen here. Oh, but Nicholas Armillo is caught up to the back of Mateus Alves. We'll throw that on the main screen here. And James Morris has caught up to them to make it a 3-car battle for 14th place. Oh, and a big move there by Nicholas Armillo on the inside. But it looks like he overdoes it a little bit. Oh, and the Ferrari almost turns across him, but manages to get out in front without trading any paint. Casagina looking to make up some positions there after that unscheduled pit stop. With only 10 seconds left on the clock, though. Not sure if it makes a lot of sense, but he goes for it anyways and makes the move on Daniel Good. Leader is on the final lap of this race, and I believe, barring some sort of catastrophe, it is going to belong to Hamza Gulzar. Let's take a look over here at this 3-car battle for 14th place, though. Ben Burchett, Nico Roscosh, and James Morris getting very, very close to one another through Maggots and Beckett's. That Lexus is getting closer. They've both moved to the outside. Let's see if they can make the move. Nico Roscosh on the inside trying to defend. Ben Burchett looking for some grip, and he finds it. Gets out by a nose. James Morris locks in right behind him. And that is going to put Nico Roscosh on the defense going into the Vale chicane. James Morris noses through. Ben Burchett on the outside still fighting for grip. James Morris right there as he's trying to turn in. And he's forced off wide and gets back on the track. Ooh, late on the brakes there for the BMW, but the Lexus stays out in front. And I think I was right. Casagina goes out there and sets fastest lap of the race after the timer has lapsed. Let's take a look over at a battle we've been watching develop this entire time. Nicholas Armillo and Mateus Alves are still duking it out and are likely to be doing so all the way to the end of the race, and they touch. The Mercedes gets spun around. Oh, and it looks like Mateus Alves waits for him. And these two will duke it out all the way to the end of the race. Although it looks like, I think the charity ran out there, and Mateus Alves gets back onto the track and starts running away as they get ready to finish this race. But as I say that, Hamza Gulzar crosses the start-finish line to finish in first place on the final race of this season. Ryan Yee, finishing in second place, will be our series champion as he crosses the line in second place. Sam Snelltrain not far behind him, and that is Mateus Alves and Nicholas Armillo going to be crossing the line, battling it out to the very end of the race. Sam Snelltrain celebrating for his P3 finish. Javier Salazar in P4. Matt Byrne is going to cross the line in P6. Jeff Spangler and Skylar Loverink crossing in P7, or 6 and 7, excuse me. Ryan Walker coming around the final bend right now will finish in P8. We've also had Mateus Alves, Nicholas Armillo, and Stubby McNubby finish in 18, 19, and 20th. Ross Sparrow in 21st. Ryan Walker crossing the line in P8. Luis Velez in P9. Casagina with fastest lap of the race. I'm not sure why he went for that extra pit, but will cross the line in P10. Oh, and actually, excuse me, it looks like Ryan Yee sets the fastest lap of the race on his final lap. Oh, Casagina takes it back with a 2:02.1. and will secure, I think, that extra point. It's awarded for that. Daniel Good finishing in P11. Domenico Bellotti rounding the final corner to finish in P12. And there we go, the checkered flag waving for him. Andrew Sear on his way around the, it looks like Luffield, yep. And he will finish in P13. And coming down to the wire here, Ben Burchett, James Morris, and Landon Dinkle. Just a second separating each car will finish. Oh. And James Morris stopping on the finish line there. So Ben Burchett, Nico Roscosh, and James Morris, 14, 15, and 16. And I believe, yeah, that is just about everybody as they run over to the runoff in P1 to get some final celebration of the season out of their system. Everybody doing donuts. Matt Byrne and Andrew Sear parked enjoying the sunset of this season together. And that is, I believe, going to do it for us, unless there's anybody else still racing. No, there we go. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally come to the end of the season with a absolutely exciting race from start to finish. Mixed weather conditions, Silverstone, battles for position down to the line. What more could we ask for, folks? What a great season. What a fantastic race to hang our hats on. But that is going to be it. And I'm going to say congratulations to Ryan Yee, the season champion, finishing in second place on his final race of the season. You love to see it. And that's going to do it for me. So to everybody who has watched faithfully throughout the entire series, thank you so much. You made it a blast for me, not just getting to watch some fantastic racing going on, but having some folks in the chat to interact with. Love having you. You make the job all the much more worth it. So thank you again to the viewers at home. We will, of course, have another season in the near future. It has yet to be announced, but if you want to get updates on that, go ahead and join our Discord server. That is where all of the news and announcements for the upcoming season will be announced. So that is going to do it for me. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, as always, my name is Matt McAdams. Been bringing you the action throughout the whole season. It has been an absolute blast and a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next season here at Delta Racing League. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope we see you next time.